As Mike Parson climbed the ranks in the Show Me state, he treated it like the Show Me the Money state. Parson was the only statewide elected official to take lobbyist gifts.
This claim makes it seem this happened when Parson was governor, but it was actually as lieutenant governor, so that's misleading. The Parson campaign tells News 4 that the majority of those gifts were commemorative coins for veterans and service members during a time Parson was attending many veteran events. Reports from the Missouri Ethics Commission show that Parson, when he was lieutenant governor, was the only statewide official in 2017 to take payments from lobbyists, so that's true. But Ethics Commission reports also show that he has not reported taking any lobbyist gifts since taking over as governor.
And he spent over $50,000 in taxpayer money remodeling his office, including $8,000 on furniture alone.
While that's true, again, this was during his time as lieutenant governor, and the ad implies it was during his time as governor, so that's misleading. While the office was remodeled, in that same news report listed from the Post-Dispatch, it was reported that the office had not been updated in 12 years, and the work included replacing damaged flooring and cracked walls.
He was slow to act as COVID-19 ravaged Missouri.
This is misleading because it is vague and does not cite a specific report. When questioned by News 4, the political group behind the ad cites Parsons' delay in ordering a mandatory stay-at-home order even as state business and healthcare leaders called for one. That part is true. Missouri's stay-at-home order went into effect April 6th. According to the CDC, only South Carolina and Iowa were after that date.
And he's failed to help our hardest-hit communities.
This is also misleading because it's a vague claim and there is no report cited. But when questioned by News 4, the group behind the ad cites Parsons' lack of a statewide mask mandate, even as the White House Coronavirus Task Force recommended a mask mandate for the Show Me state. That part is true.
Yeah, well, right now we're going every day with what data we have. I'm not even going to try to get on a crystal ball and see what's going to happen in 6 months from now.
Mike Parson is showing us he works for himself, not Missouri.
The group behind these ads is A Stronger Missouri. It's an independent group linked to the Democratic Governors Association.
Her alleged corruption is shocking. Galloway took nearly $500,000 from an organization whose leadership was convicted of bribery, embezzlement, and money laundering.
That organization, the United Auto Workers. And yes, there have been instances of corruption within the union in St. Louis and across the country recently and throughout its history. But it also has more than 400,000 members nationwide and has a long history of supporting Democratic candidates. State records show Galloway's Keep Government Accountable PAC has accepted donations from the United Auto Workers. And Galloway has stated she is pleased union workers are supporting her.
Missouri's Attorney General said Galloway committed a felony.
That claim is false. The issue there, the ad says committed, the words show committing. It all deals with an audit that Galloway's office did looking at issues during the short time now Senator Josh Hawley was Missouri's Attorney General. As News 4 reported in the past, that included bringing in outside consultants to help run the office and using private emails to communicate. At the time of the audit, current State Attorney General Eric Schmidt stated Galloway's releasing of transcripts of interviews in that audit would be committing a felony. Those transcripts were released to the public. Galloway was never charged with any crime, and Schmidt's office has stopped all of the questionable practices used by Hawley's office.
And now the Board of Accountancy is investigating Galloway for abusing her office for political gain.
Senator Josh Hawley did file a complaint about that audit 8 months ago, but no investigation was started until 3 weeks ago. Also, the current board vice president has donated to Hawley, and he and another board member both made donations to Parsons' campaign.
Pay-to-play Nicole Galloway, a disturbing pattern of corruption.
Pay-to-play is a specific allegation usually dealing with trading cash for political favors. There is no evidence or allegation of that with Nicole Galloway, so that's false. When questioned about the pay-to-play allegation, the group behind the ad responded, quote, "In Galloway's case, the pay-to-play is with the UAW. If an organization gives her nearly $500,000, she'll praise them even when they face a massive federal corruption investigation." And that laugh used in the ad was from a Zoom grassroots event for Democratic Lieutenant Governor candidate Alyssa Kennedy in April about campaigning during COVID. The group behind the ad, Uniting Missouri, is a political action committee founded to help elect Mike Parson.
In Ann Wagner's office, there are two phones. One for you and one for them.
To start with, as it shows right there on your screen, this is a dramatization. This is not Congresswoman Ann Wagner, so that's false.
You see, Ann's campaign has taken over $1.3 million from the drug and insurance industries.
As News 4 previously reported, that's true, but that's over her entire career in Congress. But it's misleading because, for perspective, in this election cycle alone, she has raised more than $3 million from a wide range of donors.
She voted with them to keep the costs of prescription drugs sky high.
Wagner did vote no, largely along party lines, on the Lower Drug Costs Now Act, but it's misleading. That same week, she did support the Republican-sponsored bill, the Lower Cost, More Cures Act. While it had more bipartisan measures, opponents said it did not go far enough to lower drug prices.
And voted to gut protections for pre-existing conditions during this health crisis.
It's true that Wagner has voted a handful of times to repeal the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, but her campaign stated Wagner has supported measures that would ensure pre-existing condition coverage is maintained, regardless of any decision by the Supreme Court on the ACA's constitutionality.
DCCC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
That organization is the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, which works to elect Democrats to the U.S. House of Representatives.
Jill Shoup spent her career siding with dangerous criminals. When a serial sex offender got away with raping a child, a bipartisan constitutional amendment was introduced to bring child sex offenders to justice. Missouri voters overwhelmingly passed the amendment, but Jill Shoup turned her back on victims and voted no.
It's true that voters passed the amendment, but there's more. Shoup, along with 23 Democrats and 4 Republicans, voted against it because it would allow juries to hear evidence from a defendant's past, even if they were never charged in those cases. The ACLU also opposed the amendment, stating it presumes suspects were guilty instead of innocent. So is that claim true? Not exactly.
Before that, Shoup supported legislation that would have given hundreds of sex offenders a clean slate.
Shoup did vote for that bill, but so did every other member of the Missouri House, Democrat and Republican. And 87% of the entire state Senate voted for the bill. That included then State Senator Republican Mike Parson, who is now Governor Parson. The bill would have removed sex offenders from the registry if they were convicted when they were under the age of 18. Then Governor Nixon ended up vetoing the bill, so that claim is misleading. As for that website, softoncrimeshoup.com, it shows it's paid for by Ann Wagner for Congress. Corey Stark, News 4. Right now, the race for the U.S. House District 2 in Missouri is considered a toss-up, so expect more ads like these as Democrat Jill Shoup tries to take down Republican incumbent Ann Wagner. That's true, but almost all Republicans in the House voted no on these 2 votes that dealt with the Affordable Care Act, and therefore it could have impacted its provision to protect people with pre-existing conditions. Wagner has voted a handful of times to repeal the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. That's also true. Wagner did again vote no, largely along party lines, on the Lower Drug Costs Now Act. But that same week, she did support the Republican-sponsored bill, the Lower Costs, More Cures Act. While it had more bipartisan measures, opponents said it did not go far enough to lower drug prices. That's also true, but that's over her entire career in Congress. For perspective, in this election cycle alone, she has raised more than $3 million from a wide range of donors. Corey Stark, News 4.
Have you seen Jill Shoup's radical Medicare for All healthcare plan? Shoup sponsored it twice.
It's true, Shoup did co-sponsor bills dealing with Medicare for All during her time in the Missouri General Assembly in 2011 and 2012. But those were not Medicare for All bills for Missouri. They were concurrent resolutions that urged Congress to enact the improved and expanded Medicare for All Act. Neither of those bills made it out of committee in Jefferson City. It was never Shoup's plan, so that's misleading.
Even Joe Biden opposes it.
Medicare for All is absolutely preposterous. It will eliminate employer-based insurance. You shouldn't have Washington dictating to you. You cannot keep the plan you have.
This is misleading. Those were remarks made by former Vice President Joe Biden, but they were not dealing with the plan from 8 years ago. These comments came during the presidential debates earlier this year as he opposed the plan proposed by Democratic rival Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All plan.
The fact is that right now, the vast majority of Democrats do not support Medicare for All.
What would Shoup's plan cost us?
It costs $30 trillion. It's going to raise taxes on middle-class people.
Again, those comments came during Biden's fight with Sanders and not about any bill sponsored by Shoup.
We can do this without charging people raising $40 trillion.
So that's misleading. And to be clear, while Shoup has supported measures for progressive health care reform, she has only ever served in the Missouri General Assembly and has never served in Congress, where a Medicare for All bill would have to come from. And last week, during a virtual town hall, she clarified her position.
Look, I want to make it clear. I support a public option. I think it's going to be a good alternative from some people. But I do not support Medicare for All.
Some people sing in key.
For context, these types of ads using Medicare for All and the words of Biden in the presidential debates are now popping up all across the country, like this ad from New York.
It's going to increase personal taxes.
And this one from Nebraska.
Medicare for All is absolutely preposterous.